Chapter 551. Hua Qinhuan was already displeased with this group of people who had suddenly barged in and disturbed his and his wife's dinner time. When he heard Su Yiyan inviting them to have dinner together, his face sank, and he was very reluctant. Su Yiyan immediately saw through his thoughts. She took the initiative to take his hand and said, "Let's go. It's time to eat. I specially made some delicious new dishes today. If you don't eat them, they will be gone in a while." Hua Qinhuan was instantly persuaded. Those dishes were clearly prepared for him. Why should these outsiders take advantage of them? He had to eat more later. Sister Jiang was surprised to see the two of them interacting. She then stared unblinkingly at Hua Qinhuan. To be precise, she stared at Hua Qinhuan's recovered legs. Her eyes lit up. They had actually recovered. Grandfather Jiang and Hua Qinhuan's father were old friends. Because of this relationship, Jiang Qingran had seen Hua Qinhuan when she was very young. She even affectionately called him Uncle Hua. She was only 10 years old when the family Hua's accident happened. She only remembered that her grandfather had a frown on his face as though he had encountered some difficulties. Later, she found out that the kind-hearted couple had passed away. Their company had been taken over by the annoying Uncle Hua, and the good-looking Uncle Hua had been paralyzed in an accident. He would never be able to walk upright for the rest of his life. At the time, she didn't understand what this meant. She secretly asked her grandfather if he could take her to see Uncle Hua. Jiang Qingran still remembered the look in her grandfather's eyes when he looked at her. A few years later, she gradually realized that his eyes were full of guilt. When his old friend's son needed help the most, he chose to play it safe in order to protect their family. Although it was understandable, he felt guilty toward his old friend. At the time, he probably never imagined that a few years later, his biological granddaughter would become one of these unfortunate people. Jiang Qingran looked at the old man who had aged a lot in the past few years and took the initiative to reach out and hold his hand. She couldn't help but recall the time when she had just gotten into an accident. Every night, the old man would secretly wipe his tears beside the sickbed. He would repent in a low voice after thinking that she was asleep, thinking that all of this was retribution for his selfishness back then. Jiang Qingran didn't think it was karma. Even though she was her grandfather's granddaughter, her grandfather did that for her and her brother. Now that this retribution fell on her, she deserved it. It had nothing to do with anyone else. "Grandpa, let's go." Old Master Jiang looked at his granddaughter, his eyes slightly red. He responded in a low voice and pushed her over. She didn't expect that someone would come back to eat at her house. Su Yiyan basically made dishes that were suitable for Hua Qinhuan's physique and taste. Qinhuan has been rather hot-tempered recently, so his dinner is rather bland. "I don't know if it's to your liking." Hua Qinhuan. Sure enough, these dishes to cool down were prepared for him. Rather hot-tempered. Grandpa and Grandpa San Rao's eyes fell on Hua Qinhuan at the same time with subtle expressions. Especially young Master Jiang Qingwang, he carefully looked up and down at Hua Qinhuan, as if looking for proof of his hot-tempered nature. He was afraid that he would suddenly fly into a rage while eating and spit out a mouthful of fire. If Hua Qinhuan knew what he was thinking, he would probably be unable to help but swear on the spot. He was hot-tempered, but he wasn't a fire-breathing dragon. Spit your sister's fire. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 552. Old Master Jiang was stunned for a few seconds before he realized that Su Yiyan was vaguely showing off her love for him. He coughed softly, unable to adapt to the young man's rhythm. "Sister Su, you're too polite. It's too presumptuous of us to come uninvited." Jiang Qingwang tried his best to shift his gaze away from Hua Qinhuan and the table. He said tentatively, "Well, my sister's leg, let's eat first. We'll talk after eating." Yes, yes, yes. Let's eat first. How can we be energetic if we don't eat? We'll talk about other things after we finish eating. Jiang Qingwang received his grandfather's warning gaze. He held his breath in his chest and couldn't get it out. He increasingly felt that his grandfather had been deceived. This person didn't answer because she was stalling for time. That's right, that's it. He had already seen through this person deliberately using eating to stall for time. Moreover, these things didn't look very delicious. He would never eat them. Jiang Qingwang thought that he had discovered the truth and was full of resistance to the dishes on the table. However, this resistance was soon defeated by the expressions of enjoyment on the others' faces and the aroma of the dishes that kept wafting into his nose. These dishes didn't look special. Why did they smell so good? Then, he thought about it again. Maybe they only smelled good but didn't taste good. Why don't I give it a try? Jiang Qingwang prepared himself mentally. Finally, he picked up his chopsticks and put a piece of bamboo shoot into his mouth. The fresh spring bamboo shoots were sweet and salty. They were crispy, sweet, and refreshing in the mouth. It seemed that he could even taste a trace of game unique to the mountains. By the time Jiang Qingwang reacted, his chopsticks had already involuntarily reached for the other dishes. His heart, which was originally very resistant to these dishes, had betrayed him on the spot. Su Yiyan didn't know that someone had performed a live performance of smelling good right under her nose. She was being polite by inviting old Master Jiang and the others to eat together. However, these people weren't guests that she had specially invited. Su Yiyan didn't show too much enthusiasm. She sat at the table and ate while supervising Hu Qinhuan to eat the soup and dishes that she had specially made to cool down the heat. You've been having a lot of internal heat recently. This soup is specially brewed for you. It's good for clearing internal heat, replenishing energy and calming nerves. Drink more. Su Yiyan specially scooped a bowl of longan lotus seed soup and placed it in front of Hu Qinhuan. When old Master Jiang and the others, who were sitting opposite them, saw this scene, they were in a trance inside. You two have such a good relationship. It wasn't like the rumors outside that it was just a business marriage and a relationship of interest. Su Yiyan was stunned for a moment. She blushed slightly. I'm sorry for making you laugh. Chen Huan's health had deteriorated a lot because of his legs. Although I'm fine now, I still need to recuperate for a while before I can feel at ease. Of course, of course. Although old Master Jiang said that, in his heart, he was thinking about when his granddaughter would get better, so that he could have a chance to help her recuperate. Hopefully, this day will come, and hopefully, this day will come sooner. When Hu Qinhuan heard Su Yiyan's words, the corners of her mouth raised slightly. The depression of their world being disturbed finally dissipated a lot. But soon, this smile froze, and her eyes narrowed dangerously. When Jiang Qingwang heard Su Yiyan and Hu Qinhuan's words, although he knew that it was impolite, his eyes still drifted unconsciously to the longan lotus seed soup, and his hand was eager to reach out. Unfortunately, before his hand could touch the bowl of soup, a sharp gaze slashed at him. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 553. Jiang Qingwang's whole body stiffened. He met Hu Qinhuan's cold gaze, and his wrist suddenly felt cold. He always felt that if he really stretched out his hand, he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to see the sun again. Forget it. Food was precious, but life was more valuable. He couldn't afford to offend her. After successfully forcing the little puppy who dared to steal food from the tiger's mouth with his eyes, Hu Qinhuan was in a good mood. He drank the bowl of lotus seed soup that Su Yiyan gave him quite straightforwardly. Su Yiyan saw everything. She only felt that it was funny, but she didn't expose him. After the five of them had dinner, they took a short break and got to the point. Su Yiyan first tried to touch Jiang Qingruan's legs like when she treated Hu Qinhuan before. The answer she got was similar to when she asked Hu Qinhuan that day. Su Yiyan frowned, got up and said, "Go to the guest room." Although they didn't know what she was going to do, they still did as she said and pushed Jiang Qingruan into the guest room downstairs. "Put her on the bed and lie down." "I'll do it." Jiang Qingwang immediately volunteered when he heard this. Su Yiyan couldn't help laughing. "If you don't do it, who will?" There were only 3 men in the room. Old Master Jiang was old. Not to mention carrying someone, he would be worried even if he bumped into someone. Her husband didn't like to touch other women except her. Even if he was willing, Su Yiyan wouldn't be willing. Jiang Qingwang was the only one left. If he didn't help, did he expect her to carry him up herself? Jiang Qingwang's face turned green, but he was still worried about his sister's legs. He silently carried her to the bed. "Turn over. I want to touch her bones." "Touch her bones." Jiang Qingwang looked at her in surprise. Jiang Qingran didn't say anything. She tried to turn over sideways. Su Yiyan reached out and touched her back all the way down to her tailbone, and a hint of understanding appeared in her eyes. Old Master Jiang stood on the side and looked at her nervously. When he saw her get up, he asked tentatively, "Sister Su, how is Qingran?" "It can be cured, but it will take some time." When Old Master Jiang heard the first half of the sentence, he held his breath. His face instantly turned red, and his hands began to tremble. When he heard the second half of the sentence, he said without thinking, "It's good that it can be treated. As long as it can be treated, we can wait no matter how long it takes." Jiang Qingruan's face was buried in the pillow, so he couldn't see her expression. However, because of Su Yiyan's words, her hands, which were hanging by the side, suddenly grabbed the edge of the pillow tightly. Blue veins could be faintly seen. It was obvious that her heart was not calm. Jiang Qingwang's eyes also lit up. He was pleasantly surprised, but he was worried that he would rejoice for nothing. "It's good that you're mentally prepared. In addition, since you've already been treated, it's best to continue the treatment one by one. That way, the effect will be better. The problem now is that Qinhuan and I have to go to my aunt's place next month to accompany her due date. It might take a month or 2 for us to come back. Her place is quite far from City A. Do you want to wait for me to come back for treatment, or do you want to come to me yourself?" Hearing this, Old Master Jiang's hot head cooled down a little, and he asked in a low voice, "Sister Su, may I ask where your aunt is?" "She's in City C, City C." Old Master Jiang muttered, "That's quite far away. But it doesn't matter. I have an old friend who has a property in City C before. I'll call him later to see if I can rent his house for a few months. If it doesn't work, we can also rent it there. Nowadays, if you have money, you don't have to worry about not having a house to live in." You can read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 554. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows and confirmed again, "So, your choice is, if possible, we hope to do it as soon as possible." "Okay, then let's start tonight. You can deal with the house yourself." Jiang Qingwang exclaimed, "Tonight?" Su Yiyan turned to look at him. "What's wrong? Do you think it's too rushed? Do you want to delay a few more days?" "No, no, no." Jiang Qingwang hurriedly waved his hand. "I'm just worried that you're not fully prepared." His sister was paralyzed in the lower limbs. Could she be cured with a few touches? What do I need to prepare? Do I have to bathe, change clothes, burn incense, and fast before treating your sister's illness? Why are there so many rules? Jiang Qingwang was speechless. What kind of fallacy was this? It felt even more unreliable. Su Yiyan didn't care what he thought. She directly shouted at the door, "Uncle Zhang, help me bring the box in the room." "Oh, okay." Uncle Zhang moved quickly and brought the box down for her in a short while. Not only was there Su Yiyan's acupuncture bag in the box, but there was also a series of tools such as artemisia and massage. When Jiang Qingwang and Jiang Qingwang saw Su Yiyan take out such a thin and long needle from the acupuncture bag, their faces turned pale. Hua Qinhuan was very calm. After all, he had been pricked many times before, and he didn't know how many needle holes there were on his body. "Sister Su, you..." When Su Yiyan heard old Master Zhang's voice, she realized that they were still in the room. She frowned and said, "Why are you still here? Where else can we go?" "Of course we go out. In a while, I'll lift her clothes and give her acupuncture. You guys are standing here. Aren't you afraid that you'll see something you shouldn't see?" Su Yiyan looked at Hua Qinhuan meaningfully. Hua Qinhuan's face changed slightly, and he said with a strong desire for survival, "I'll go out right away." "We'll go out too. Grandpa." Jiang Qingwang's face was full of worry. The needle was so scary. It must be very painful. Unfortunately, old Master Jiang didn't care about what he thought and dragged him out. Seeing this, Hua Qinhuan leaned over and kissed Su Yiyan. She whispered, "I'll wait for you outside. Come out soon." "Okay, close the door for me." After the three people left, only Su Yiyan and Jiang Qingrun were left in the room. As soon as Su Yiyan approached, Jiang Qingrun's whole body stiffened. "Nervous?" "A little." "Don't be afraid. This needle looks scary, but it won't hurt." Jiang Qingrun forced a smile, but he was still a little flustered. He had to try to divert his attention. "Can my leg really be cured? Did you see Qinhuan when his legs weren't working?" "No, but I heard that he was similar to you before." "What about now?" "He's fine." "Yes, he's fine. If he can recover, why can't you?" Jiang Qingrun was stunned, and her eyes suddenly became hot. It had been a few years. Her grandfather had never given up looking for people to treat her legs, but those people had said that her legs were not cured. Someone told her that if others could cure it, why couldn't she? Jiang Qingrun rubbed the pillow to hide her tears. Thank you, you'd better wait a few months before saying this to me when you're better." "Okay." She had waited for a few years. Now, it was only a few months. She could wait with hope. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 555. Su Yiyan was busy treating people inside, and the three of them were waiting anxiously outside. Jiang Qingwang, in particular, had been wandering back and forth since he came out. A layer of the floor in front of the guest room was almost rubbed off by him. At first, old Master Jiang was relatively calm. He even took advantage of this leisure time to call the old friend he had mentioned before and ask him about the suite in Sea City. The old friend was also loyal. When he heard that he was going to take his granddaughter to Sea City to live for a while, he immediately said, "Why rent outside? How can renting be more comfortable than living in your own house?" Anyway, they didn't live in that house much and had always been empty. After the grandfather and granddaughter went over, they could help to clean up the house. There was no need to rent outside. He would ask someone to send the key over when he was free. Old Master Jiang didn't refuse after hearing this. He really needed this place to stay now, so there was no need to be pretentious about this matter. As for this favor, he would remember it. Time passed by minute. After about an hour, old Master Jiang began to be anxious. He frequently looked at the closed door of the guest room, and even began to be absent-minded when talking to Hua Qinhuan. Hua Qinhuan was actually a little anxious. He didn't care about Sister Zhang's situation inside, but he was worried that his wife would be tired. After working for the first day, he had to cook dinner, and now he had to treat people for so long. Just thinking about it made him feel tired. Thinking of this, Hua Qinhuan despised this family a little more. He regretted that he had revealed Su Yiyan's matter to him for a moment of convenience and for the sake of this person's old relationship with his parents. Old Master Jiang didn't know that someone had begun to regret cooperating with him because he cared about his wife. If he knew, his mood would be very complicated. "Grandpa, why is there no movement inside at all?" "Sister, your sister's leg is so serious. It must be more time-consuming to treat it. Just wait patiently." Although he said that, old Master Zhang's eyes couldn't help but drift to the door. Obviously, his heart was not at ease. At this moment, the door opened with a click. Su Yiyan walked out, yawning. "Okay, go in and bring her out. She should be asleep soon." Jiang Qingwang rushed in immediately. "Sister, are you okay?" However, she met her sister's sparkling eyes. "Sister. I'm fine. Take me out." "Oh, okay." Jiang Qingwang was stunned for a few seconds before he came back to his senses. He hurriedly carried his sister into the wheelchair, feeling that his sister seemed to be different from usual. Seeing Su Yiyan come out, Master Jiang also stood up suddenly. Suppressing the urge to go in and see his granddaughter, he took the initiative to ask about Jiang Qingruan's situation. "Sister Su, Qingrun, I've already treated her. Her condition is slightly worse than Qinhuan's." Hearing this, Master Jiang's heart skipped a beat. If her condition was worse than Hua Qinhuan's, then, fortunately, she didn't waste as much time as Qinhuan, so the chances of her being cured are still very high. If it had been a few years later, it might not have been so easy. Old Master Jiang's mood was like a roller coaster, rising and falling. If it weren't for his healthy heart, he would have been lying down by now. "That's good. That's good." When Jiang Qingwang pushed his sister out, he heard their conversation. He frowned as if he had made up his mind. Suddenly, he asked, "Can you really cure my sister?" Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 556. As soon as he asked this question, the atmosphere in the room immediately became subtle. "Qingwang!" Old Master Jiang shouted in a low voice, for fear that he would offend him as soon as he opened his mouth. Hua Qinhuan also took his words as a question to Su Yiyan, and her face darkened on the spot. Su Yiyan didn't care much and said truthfully, "If nothing unexpected happens, yes." Jiang Qingwang gritted his teeth, walked out from behind his sister, and solemnly bowed to Su Yiyan. He even said in a particularly childish manner, "If you can cure her, my life is yours." Su Yiyan. "Young man, do you think you're filming some righteous martial arts inspirational drama?" Hua Qinhuan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. What did he mean by, "my life is yours"? Didn't this mean that he would repay the kindness of saving his life with his body? He dared to steal his woman in front of him. Did he think that he was dead? "Qingwang!" Old Master Jiang and Jiang Qingrun exclaimed at the same time. However, unlike the anger from before, this shout was more of fear and worry. How could this child not take his own life seriously? If he took it seriously, wouldn't it be? Su Yiyan was silent for a few seconds, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. In a society ruled by law, I don't steal, I don't rob, and I don't kill for money. Why would I want your life? Jiang Qingwang was stunned, and his eyes widened. He didn't know what to do. After all, he was still an immature minor. In the eyes of Su Yiyan, who had lived 2 lives, he was just a child. If you really want to do something, first wash your. Su Yiyan pointed at his green hair and tried to think of a word. Wash this green hair. It's really too eye-catching. What did it mean to have green hair? Didn't children nowadays know? Su Yiyan thought about it for a while and decided not to hurt her eyes. She was just trying to pursue a little unconventional and unconventional. Before Jiang Qingrun completely recovered, she would definitely have to meet this grandfather and grandson several times. Based on how much he cared about his sister, he would most likely be present when he treated Jiang Qingrun. Su Yiyan felt that he might go blind after looking at this green-haired beast a few more times. Hua Qinhuan narrowed her eyes. She felt that the patch of green on top of a certain someone's head was very similar to her. Jiang Qinhuang didn't sense the approaching danger. Hearing Su Yiyan's words, he blankly reached out his hand to touch his dazzling smart neon green. Feeling wronged, he said, "Is it really that ugly?" As soon as this was said, not only Su Yiyan, but even Jiang Qingrun and the others' expressions became indescribable. Actually, Grandpa and I have wanted to be with you for a long time. Your hair is really ugly. It was really ugly. She just wanted to protect her child's self-esteem, so she had no choice but to hold her nose and bear with it. Now, someone finally spoke the truth that they had been holding back for a long time. Jiang Qingrun gave his brother a fatal blow without any psychological burden. As if struck by lightning, Jiang Qinhuang shut himself up on the spot. When they saw him looking at each other like this, they couldn't help but burst out laughing. It was a little late when they started the treatment. When the treatment ended, it was already late at night. The three people from the Jiang family didn't want to disturb them anymore. After thanking Su Yiyan again, they prepared to leave. Before leaving, Jiang Qinhuang still didn't give up and asked, "You really don't need me, Hua Qinhuan? This stinking brat is asking for a beating." Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Ming Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 557. Su Yiyan was slightly startled. She glanced at Old Master Jiang and Jiang Qingrun, who looked nervous. She sighed inwardly. Naughty children were really worrisome. No need. Su Yiyan seriously rejected Jiang Qinhuang's proposal. Child, don't always think about these messy things. Compensation and rewards are important. They have nothing to do with you. How does it have nothing to do with me? Jiang Qinhuang subconsciously glanced at his sister's legs and said unwillingly, "I'm not a child." Before you say that, dye your green hair back first. Jiang Qinhuang. So angry. He couldn't stand this grievance. Su Yiyan didn't care whether he was wronged or not. She winked at Old Master Jiang and asked him to quickly take this naughty child home. Old Master Jiang was also afraid that this naughty child would say something shocking again, so he covered his mouth and dragged him and his eldest granddaughter away in a hurry. Su Yiyan looked at their backs as they hurried away, but she couldn't help laughing. She didn't laugh for long before her face was turned over by a certain someone. She saw her man's face, which was as black as the bottom of a pot. "What's wrong?" Su Yiyan blinked innocently. "You smiled so happily at him." Hua Qinhuan said this through gritted teeth. Su Yiyan smiled slightly and deliberately teased him. "Don't you think he's very interesting?" "No." "Yes. Yes. Ha 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 ha." Su Yiyan looked at Hua Qinhuan's black face and couldn't help laughing out loud. "Do you think his green hair matches you well?" Hua Qinhuan's black face suddenly turned green, and two sentences he saw in the live broadcast room unconsciously appeared in his mind. "Love is a light, so green that it makes people panic. If you want to live a good life, you have to be a cuckold." "Bah, nonsense, no one can make him wear a cuckold." Su Yiyan looked at her man's increasingly unsightly expression. She held back her laughter and explained, "That's the way I look at the child. Although the child is naughty and mischievous, she's very cute. Although he would be angry when he saw them causing trouble, he would feel more helpless, which made him laugh. And when I look at him, I always think of you." Thinking of me. The affectionate look on Hua Chenhuan's face froze. She couldn't understand how they were similar. Su Yiyan turned to look at him. His eyes seemed to contain a ray of light. "He's not old. Looking at him, I always wonder if you were about the same age as him before the accident." Hua Chenhuan was slightly startled. Indeed, he and his parents were about Jiang Qingwang's age when the accident happened. "At that time, did you also have a rebellious period like him? Maybe you even dyed your hair green like him?" Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh again. "Hua Chenhuan. I'm not. Don't overthink it. I'm not as childish as him." Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh. She deliberately teased him. "You also know that he's childish. Then, aren't you even more childish for arguing with such a childish person like him?" Hua Chenhuan was at a loss for words. "Anyway, you're not allowed to smile at him like that again. I can't guarantee that, unless he can be normal next time. Otherwise, with that head of green light, green hair, it would be hard for her not to notice him even if she didn't want to. It wasn't just green hair. What if he dyed his hair red, purple, yellow, or rainbow?" She couldn't guarantee that she would put all these hair colors on Hua Chenhuan's head one by one. Then, ha 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 ha. With that thought, Su Yiyan couldn't help but laugh like a barbell. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 558. Hua Chenhuan sensed Su Yiyan's gaze lingering on the top of her head. She heard her uncontrollable laughter and guessed what she was thinking. She was both annoyed and amused. She secretly planned to call old Master Jiang when Su Yiyan wasn't paying attention and ask him to discipline his rebellious grandson. Young Master Jiang, who had no idea that he was about to be cut in half during his rebellious period. Who did he offend? Now that the Jiang family's matter was resolved, Su Yiyan was relieved of the burden on her shoulders. The next morning, Su Yiyan was in a good mood and went to the company to clock in. However, she bumped into an unexpected acquaintance. "Auntie! Auntie!" Su Yiyan turned her head in confusion and saw Lan Jiaye waving happily at her not far away. Why was this guy at her company? "Auntie!" And Rusu, who was dragged over by Lan Jiaye, looked at Su Yiyan in surprise. She couldn't believe that this girl, who was about the same age as them, was Lan Jiaye's auntie. As if reading her mind, Su Yiyan glared at Lan Jiaye helplessly and pretended to be annoyed. "You can just call me by my name. Calling me auntie makes me sound old." Lan Jiaye touched his head guiltily and complained in a low voice, "Sister-in-law and my parents scolded me and told me not to be rude in front of you." Since he had already said that, Su Yiyan didn't want to dwell on the issue. She turned her gaze to the girl beside him. "And this is..." "Hello, President Su. My name is Rusu. I'm the scriptwriter who's here to discuss a collaboration with your company." "Scriptwriter?" Su Yiyan's eyes darted between the two of them. She smiled and asked, "What's your relationship with him?" And Rusu didn't expect her to be so direct and was stunned for a few seconds. Lan Jiaye saw this and immediately answered, "She's my junior from the same school and also my current girlfriend." "Girlfriend?" Su Yiyan came to a sudden realization. "The girlfriend you mentioned to your sister-in-law during your grandfather's birthday?" "Yes, that's her." Lan Jiaye was a little embarrassed, but he didn't forget to recommend his girlfriend to Su Yiyan. "Auntie, our Su is very good at drawing. Many people on the internet like to watch her drawings." She's also a fan of the host. Su Yiyan then recalled that Lan Jiaya had previously mentioned that she was their matchmaker. Could it be because of this that a certain someone had dragged his girlfriend into her trap? Oh, really? What was her ID in the live streaming room? I might have an impression of him. The moment Su Yiyan said that, Lan Jiaya instinctively looked at his girlfriend with an encouraging expression. The corner of Enrusu's mouth twitched when she caught his gaze. She said awkwardly, my live stream ID is my roommate is a dumbass. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. She felt that this ID sounded familiar. She pondered for a moment, then a thought flashed through her mind. Enrusu. Don't tell me you're. Enrusu met her gaze. She didn't know why, but for some reason, she revealed her other identity. Oh, I have another ID on the internet. It's Anji Ruosu. So it was her. Wasn't Anji Ruosu one of the dorm sisters who had helped her clear her name on the internet? Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle is Obviously in Love with My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 559. Su Yiyan was pleasantly surprised. She looked at Enrusu with more enthusiasm. Don't you have a roommate whose ID is Aunt left today? And she has a verified account called Xia Yuningxi. Enrusu was stunned. She didn't expect Su Yiyan to know about this. Yes, Lan Jiaya looked at Enrusu, who was standing there in a daze, and chuckled. I knew she was a fan of the host. You didn't believe me. Enrusu seemed to wake up from a dream. She glanced at Su Yiyan subconsciously. Then she reached out and pinched Lan Jiaya's waist without mercy. How dare he expose her in front of Rao Rao? He needs to be taught a lesson. Lan Jiaya's expression changed. He wanted to cry out in pain, but then he remembered that he was in someone else's company. He could only complain about his girlfriend with tears in his eyes. Su Yiyan saw the two's actions and changed the subject. Did you come here to talk about a collaboration with our company? What collaboration? Have you signed the contract? It's an adaptation of a comic. I've already signed the contract. I'm here to deliver the script. Comic. Su Yiyan seemed to realize something. Don't tell me you're talking about, you're not allowed to become a spirit after the founding of the People's Republic. You're not allowed to become a spirit after the founding of the People's Republic was one of the 3 IP projects that Xia Junxing had proposed to her. It was about a 9-tailed fox who became a spirit after the founding of the People's Republic due to malnutrition. She had no choice but to become a black fox. In order to avoid the investigation of the censorship department, she made countless jokes. Although this kind of plot was usually defined as a comedy, the characters in the story were full of character. The seemingly funny plot also vaguely revealed many real problems. There were laughter and tears, flesh and blood. This was why Su Yiyan had taken a liking to it and promoted it as a key IP. And Rusu was surprised. How did you know? This is the only IP that the company has been focusing on recently. I didn't expect the original author to be you. You're amazing. And Rusu was a little embarrassed by her praise. You're flattering me. I was originally learning how to draw. I drew this on a whim. I didn't expect it to come to this day. My roommate is much better than I am. Your roommate? Su Yiyan's eyes lit up. Xia Yuningxi. Yes. One of her books has also been signed by your company. What's his name? Dancing in Red. Su Yiyan was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the book he paid special attention to was written by an acquaintance. Isn't she a cosplayer? Why did you go and write? Before this, Su Yiyan really didn't know what a cosplayer was. It was because of this Xia Yoshi that he went to investigate. It could be said that he had a deep impression of it. Cosplaying is just her hobby. Writing is also her hobby, just like drawing is my hobby. And Rusu didn't dare to do it. Cosplaying was one of her hobbies. It was just that Xia Ningxi had taught her to cosplay. Usually, whenever Xia Ningxi cosplayed a female character, she would drag an Rusu along to cosplay a male character. It was better not to reveal this matter, lest a certain someone thought that he was a cuckold. At this thought, and Rusu instinctively glanced at Lan Jiaye. Lan Jiaye, who was oblivious to the green light above his head. Su Yiyan heard her words and frowned slightly. Didn't you just say that you learned how to draw? Now you're saying that drawing is just your hobby. What's your main occupation then? I know that. I know that. Before Rusu could answer, Lan Jiaye beat her to it. Rusu's main occupation is a fashion designer. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Ming Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 560. A fashion designer. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Her interest was piqued. She remembered that many of the characters in the comic she had read were quite beautiful. Do you have any finished designs? She asked hurriedly. And Rusu thought that Su Yiyan was trying to find out more about her, to see if she was good enough for Lan Jiaye. I do, but I'm still a student. I'm still learning, so I don't have many works. Most of them are just practice drawings. I've read your comics. The lines of the characters, especially their outfits, are quite beautiful. I didn't think about it before, but now that I know you're a fashion designer, it makes sense. Su Yiyan paused and smiled faintly. Although I don't know much about your professional knowledge, I have a good sense of aesthetics. The clothes in your paintings are very beautiful, and I'm looking forward to them becoming a reality one day. And Rusu was stunned. She knew that Su Yiyan's words were an affirmation of her abilities. At the same time, it was a sign of goodwill. Her tense nerves relaxed a little. Thank you for your kind words, she said with a smile. Su Yiyan finished talking to Rusu. She turned to Lan Jiaye and said with a half-smile, so, you came here with her today. Are you worried that the people in our company will bully her? Lan Jiaye rubbed his nose guiltily and chuckled. Of course not. I just happened to hear that she was coming today. After asking around, I found out that she's coming to your company. So, I thought I'd come with her and take a look at you. Su Yiyan smiled but didn't say anything. Her expression said, I've seen through you. You don't have to put on an act. Lan Jiaye was embarrassed. He coughed softly and said truthfully, there's one more thing. My grandfather and the others want to treat you and Uncle Hua to a meal alone. Would you do them the honor? Su Yiyan understood the Lan family's intention. They had invited Lan Jiaye and the others to a meal alone after Master Lan's 70th birthday. At that time, Hua Qinhuan also agreed. However, the Lan family probably didn't expect that Hua Qinhuan's leg would recover before they could send out the invitation. As soon as he recovered, the Lan family hurriedly came over to make an appointment. It was inevitable that people would think that they saw that Hua Qinhuan had recovered and hurriedly came over to curry favor with him. The members of the Lan family couldn't figure out what Hua Qinhuan was thinking at the moment, so they didn't dare to rashly approach her. Coincidentally, Lan Jiaye suggested that he accompany his girlfriend to Su Yiyan's company for a spin. The Lan family immediately recalled how much Hua Qinhuan cared about his new wife during the curtain date banquet, so they asked Lan Jiaye to come over and help persuade her. Su Yiyan had a good impression of the Lan family. They didn't support them when they were in their prime, but they didn't abandon them when they were down. They were more generous than many people. Qinhuan told me about this before. How about this? I'll go back and discuss it with him tonight. Let's find a time when everyone is free to get together. Lan Jiaye's eyes lit up. He nodded repeatedly. Okay. I'll go home and tell my grandparents in a while. They've been thinking about this for a few days. Now they can finally rest assured. Su Yiyan went home that night and told Hu Chenhuan about it. As she expected, Hu Chenhuan agreed without much hesitation. That night, she called Lan Minghan and settled on a time to visit. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 561. That weekend, Su Yiyan woke up early in the morning to make a bowl of orange peel plum chicken and papaya pork belly soup. She packed them up and prepared to send them to the Lan family. Hu Chenhuan felt sorry for his wife who woke up so early to make food for others. He was also depressed that their morning lovey-dovey time was gone. Seeing Su Yiyan coming out of the kitchen with an insulated box, Hu Chenhuan said awkwardly and sadly, "We are guests. We don't have to bring food for them. It's because we are guests that we can't bring nothing. If others know about this, we won't even have the most basic manners. Besides, my food is different from theirs. This is specially prepared for the pregnant granddaughter-in-law of the Lan family. As an uncle, are you jealous of a pregnant woman?" "That's right. These two things were sent to Yen Xiaoran who was still pregnant." Su Yiyan specially sent ginseng to the old master's birthday. She also listed a few nourishing methods of ginseng at the bottom of the box. Her purpose was to nourish the bodies of the two old men of the Lan family who had helped Hu Chenhuan before. Although they were guests this time, they couldn't go empty-handed. With the Lan family's family background, they probably didn't care about ordinary things. What they cared about most now was the health of their family members. The two old men had sent the ginseng before. The men of the Lan family were also strong and didn't need any nourishment. The only person they cared about was the pregnant Yen Xiaoran. The healthy and strong man who was treated unfairly again. "It's too difficult." Hu Chenhuan opened his mouth. He had already prepared the gifts to visit the Lan family. But on second thought, compared to the ones he had prepared, the Lan family might prefer the two dishes prepared by Su Yiyan. "I just don't want to see you so tired." Su Yiyan took the initiative to hold Hu Chenhuan's arm. She smiled sweetly, "It's just two dishes. It's not tiring. Besides, the others also helped me." "Well, let's not talk about this. Let's go quickly. They will have to wait for us if we are late." "Okay." The few members of the Lan family attached great importance to this gathering. They got up early in the morning to prepare. "I shouldn't be too rigid in this dress, right?" The blue old man touched the casual clothes on his body and turned to ask his wife for confirmation. No, this is just right. It's not too rigid or sloppy. As long as you don't pull a long face like usual, you won't scare them." When old Master Lan heard this, he curled his lips in grievance. He usually didn't deliberately keep a straight face. Wasn't it because these bastards below were too worrisome that he was always angry? Could he be blamed for this? Thinking like this, Lord Lan's slightly disdainful gaze suddenly turned to his own son. Daddy Lan, who had been implicated even when he was doing nothing. Being glared at for no reason, Mr. Lan was embarrassed. He decisively avoided his father's death stare and coughed softly. "How's the preparation of the dishes in the kitchen?" The soup was simmered early. It was just ready at noon. The cooling layer is ready. Let's wait for the hot guests to come. Otherwise, it will be cold later. Hearing his wife's words, Mr. Lan breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. Our cook is good at cooking. It's best to let them eat it a second time. In this way, they could take the initiative to come to their house more often and exchange feelings. Naturally, they didn't have to worry about that. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 562. Mr. Lon was very confident in the culinary skills of his family's chef. He felt that even if Hu Chenhuan's family had a private chef, the culinary skills would definitely not be as good as his family's. Yan Xiaoran and Lan Minghan, the only two people who knew Su Yiyan's true identity, had a subtle expression when they heard his words. The chef's culinary skills were indeed not that good, but the host's cooking was not only good, but the food at home might not be good enough. Lan Jiaye was kept in the dark from the beginning to the end, stupidly waiting for Su Yiyan and Yan Xiaoran to come over. He didn't know why, but he had a good impression of this aunt. Maybe it was because they had a common idol. Idol? No, you're really thinking too much. It was almost 11 o'clock when Su Yiyan arrived at the Lan family's house. Although the Lan family tried their best to act natural, they didn't want the two to be too restrained. But when they saw the two, especially when they saw Hu Chenhuan, their eyes suddenly lit up, betraying their true feelings at the moment. You. Mr. Lon had already forgotten the script he had prepared before, trembling as he reached out his hand to point at Hu Chenhuan. Hu Chenhuan's eyes quickly flashed with a trace of emotion. He took the initiative to hold the old man's slightly rough hand and whispered, "Uncle Lon, I'm all better." Mr. Lan's eyes reddened because of his words. He patted his hand and said, "It's good that you're all better. You're still young, and there are many good days waiting for you in the future. You're all good, all good." It was just a few sentences, but they were the old man's most sincere blessings. Hu Chenhuan's eyes were more warm. Old Madame Lan also held her husband's other hand and complained, "It's rare for the children to come. Why don't you bring them in to sit? Why are you standing at the door?" Mr. Lon seemed to wake up from a dream. Yes, yes, yes. I was so happy that I forgot. Come on, let's go in quickly. The old man was about to pull Hu Chenhuan into the house. Hu Chenhuan did not refuse. With one hand held by the old man, she pulled Su Yiyan into the house with her other hand. Yan Xiaoran and Yan Xiaoran naturally noticed Su Yiyan, who was following behind Hu Chenhuan, as well as the thermos in her hand. "What is Auntie carrying? Such a big box, it's quite cumbersome." Upon hearing her question, Su Yiyan immediately exchanged a knowing smile with her. "I heard that Jiaya's appetite hasn't been good recently and that you've been feeling nauseous, so I specially asked a skilled chef to make some food. I don't know if it's to your liking." Yan Xiaoran's eyes lit up, and the way she looked at the thermos changed. Lan Minghan was also a little excited. After the birthday banquet, his wife told him about Su Yiyan's identity and asked him to keep it a secret for the time being. After hearing this, Lan Minghan finally understood why Su Yiyan could take out such a big ginseng to give to his grandparents. Lan Minghan had a good impression of this benefactor, who had indirectly helped him and his wife to have a crystallization of their love so quickly and had previously helped them solve their grandmother's appetite problem. When he heard that there was something inside that could make his wife feel better, he hurriedly took it eagerly. He even pretended to decline, "You're too polite. Just come. You didn't have to bring anything." Su Yiyan. You say that, but don't accept things so quickly. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Clearly Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 563. Mr. Lon and the others did not know about Su Yiyan, so they did not have much of a reaction. However, no matter what, it was still Su Yiyan's kind intentions. Moreover, the ginseng that Su Yiyan gave to old Master Lan during his birthday celebration still made them sigh with emotion. They did not stop Yan Xiaoran and her husband from accepting it. Seeing that Lan Minghan took the things, Mrs. Lan said, "Just in time. It's getting late. Let's have a meal first. If there's anything else, we can talk about it later." Yan Xiaoran and her husband were very curious about the things in the box, so naturally, they did not have any objections. Su Yiyan and her husband were guests. Since the host had spoken, they naturally had no objections. The group moved to the dining table in the inner room. There were many people in the Lan family, and they basically lived together, so the dining table was especially big. The two oldest elders sat at the main seat, followed by Mr. and Mrs. Lan. Hua Qinhuan and her husband were guests, so they sat on the other side. Logically speaking, Lan Minghan and his wife should sit below Mr. and Mrs. Lan, followed by Lan Jiaye. However, Yan Xiaoran was thinking about the things in the thermos box, so she did not think much and sat beside Su Yiyan. Lan Minghan was the kind of person who would sit wherever his wife was. He followed her and sat beside his wife. Lan Jiaye was a little late. When he realized that there were no more seats beside Su Yiyan, he was stunned for a moment before sitting beside Mrs. Lan. He was a little confused about his brother and sister-in-law's friendliness towards Su Yiyan. Mrs. Lan was also very surprised when she saw this scene. She smiled faintly and asked, "When did Xiaoran and Su Yiyan become so close?" After asking, she realized that she was a little rude. Before she could do anything to remedy it, she heard Su Yiyan laugh and say, "Xiaoran chatted with me during Uncle Lan's birthday celebration. Coincidentally, my aunt is pregnant, so she has some common topics with Xiaoran." Unconsciously, we talked more. When everyone heard her words, they suddenly realized that the best topic to get this woman closer was definitely children. Although Su Yiyan herself did not have any children, her relatives did. Moreover, they were very close relatives. Naturally, she had common topics with Yan Xiaoran, and it was easy for them to become familiar with each other. A group of people thought that they had seen through the truth, but little did they know that Yan Xiaoran was still in a daze. Before Su Yiyan spoke, she did not even know that the other party's aunt was pregnant, let alone discuss this matter with her. However, on second thought, Su Yiyan often used the excuse of, "Someone in my family is not in good health and needs to be nourished," during her livestream to create medicinal cuisine for related illnesses. Come to think of it, the medicinal cuisine he drank back then was made for this aunt, and she just so happened to be pregnant. Mrs. Lan had been in a good mood recently because her son and daughter-in-law were pregnant. When she heard Su Yiyan's words, her eyes lit up. "Your aunt is pregnant too?" "Yes, it's been more than 8 months. It's already been more than 8 months. Isn't she about to give birth?" "Yes, the expected date of delivery is about a month away. Chenhuan and I are planning to go over in a few weeks. There are few people over there, and my aunt is not old. The two of us can help take care of her when we go over, so that they won't be in a mess when the time comes." Mrs. Lan understood and nodded. She agreed and said, "Of course, of course. It's already hard to be pregnant, and it's even harder to give birth. At this time, if there are more relatives around to help, she will suffer less and her mood will be much better." Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 564. Although other people could not help with childbirth, the family roused concern was always useful at times like this. At least it would let the person who was struggling to give birth know that there were so many people around her who supported her and cared for her. When she gave birth, she would have more hope in her heart and be able to persevere. Su Yiyan smiled. Then, she seemed to have thought of something and casually said, "The 2 dishes I brought for Xiaoran today were also eaten by my aunt before. When she was pregnant, she stayed at my house for a period of time. A few months ago, she did not have much of an appetite. She would vomit after eating, vomit again and again. After that, she finally felt better after eating these 2 dishes. Most pregnant women would experience morning sickness a few months before pregnancy. Qin Shuer's morning sickness was quite severe before, but she happened to be in the Su family at that time. Su Yiyan helped to nurse her back to health for a period of time and there was no problem after that. Yan Xiaoran's morning sickness came later. It only started when she was almost 5 months pregnant. The child was already grown up. Compared to Chinshuiru, it was definitely more difficult for her. Everyone in the Lan family was slightly stunned. They subconsciously looked at the 2 dishes in front of Yen Xiaoran. Su Yiyen made her orange peel plum chicken and papaya stewed pork tripe. 1 dish and 1 soup. The quality of the insulated box was very good. When the soup and dishes were taken out, they were still steaming hot. The faint fragrance of the dishes also drifted into the noses of the Raos present. At this time, the table was basically filled with cold dishes and desserts. When these 2 dishes were taken out, they were a little outstanding. The Raos of the Lan family were a little dazed. However, they still remembered that these were for pregnant women. No matter how greedy they were, they could not snatch them away. Su Yiyen and Hu Chenhuan were used to eating the dishes at home, so they were calm. They picked up the dessert that they had eaten at the birthday banquet and took a bite. After confirming the taste, they directly fed the rest to Hu Chenhuan. Hu Chenhuan was already used to being fed. She did not even think before putting it into her mouth and eating it quickly. The Lan family members who witnessed this scene. What was this thing that was so dazzling that it almost blinded them? It was only then that Su Yiyen realized that they weren't in their own house. Her hand movement stiffened, and a slight blush appeared on her face. Seemingly seeing Su Yiyen's embarrassment, Mrs. Lan took the initiative to start a conversation. Yen, do you like children? Su Yiyen subconsciously glanced at the person beside him and whispered, I like her. Then the 2 of you will have to work harder to return to school. Su Yiyen blushed, but Hu Chenhuan held her hand and replied with a smile, we will. This fellow had no sense of shame in front of so many people. Su Yiyen glared at him angrily. She didn't know that in the eyes of the crowd, the 2 of them were harmonious and had a good relationship. While they were talking, the hot dishes were finally served. The Lan family's chef was very good at making desserts, but when it came to hot dishes, the heat control was slightly lacking. However, compared to the high-class restaurants outside, it was considered very good. Su Yiyen and Mrs. Lan had eaten breakfast before coming, so they weren't particularly hungry. Most of the time, they just ate a little symbolically. On the contrary, Yen Xiaoran, who didn't have a good appetite before this and suffered every time she ate, had a much better appetite after eating the orange pickled plum chicken. Not only did she enjoy the 2 dishes that Su Yiyen brought, but she also ate a lot of the dishes that the chef at home made, which made the family overjoyed. Xiaoran, your appetite is much better today. Read the latest chapter of The Male Lead's Uncle Clearly Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 565. Yen Xiaoran looked up at everyone and smiled. This plum chicken is sweet and sour. It's very appetizing. The soup tastes good too. How do you feel now? Do you want to throw up? Although Mama Lan was happy, it wasn't like she hadn't experienced such a situation before. She ate it but then spat it all out. Yen Xiaoran shook her head. She felt better than ever. No, my stomach feels warm and comfortable. I don't want to throw up at all. Unlike before, when he started to feel nauseous after eating it, he felt uncomfortable all over. Everyone in the Lan family was overjoyed. They were worried that Yen Xiaoran couldn't eat well these days. Seeing her poor appetite, Jirong thought of the hawthorn that Lan Jiaye got from Su Yiyen. At that time, Su Yiyen gave him a big box and told him not to eat too much at once or too often. If he couldn't finish it in a short time, he could dry it and store it. The effect would be similar when he made tea. For this reason, they dried a lot of hawthorn in the sun in case of an emergency. Seeing Yen Xiaoran like that, they wanted to give it to her immediately. However, Lan Jiaye, who had been to the restaurant several times, told them that pregnant women couldn't eat hawthorn. The only way was blocked. They were already thinking about whether they should use Lan Jia's identity as a senior viewer, and the friendship between the Lan and Hu families, to ask for it shamelessly. However, they didn't expect Su Yiyan to come first. It was like a pillow sent to them when they were sleepy. Mrs. Lan's eyes lit up. She wanted to ask Su Yiyan about the two ingredients, yen, these two dishes. Before she could finish, Lan Jia interrupted, "Auntie, why do these two dishes look a bit like the ones in the streamer's restaurant?" It was normal for Lan Jia to have this suspicion. Before this, almost no one would use tangerine peel to cook. It was the same for papaya. Many people only used it as a fruit. Only in the streamer's live broadcast room would they use it to make delicious dishes. Su Yiyan was stunned by his question. After he reacted, he quickly organized his words. "Ahem, you guessed right. These dishes are indeed the ones in the streamer's restaurant." Lan Jia's eyes narrowed as he exclaimed, "Then how did you bring the food out?" Traditional Chinese medicine had always been particular about prescribing the right medicine for each patient, and it was the same for medicinal cuisine. Different people and different situations required different things to eat, so the amount of Chinese herbs added was also different. Just like the person who had been bribed to slander their shop, he secretly took out the food that should have been eaten by him and gave it to others. Fortunately, his mother's illness was more serious than his. His portion of medicine was considered to be on the lighter side, so she didn't have any problems. If the dosage was too heavy, who knew if there would be problems after eating it? Would they really blame it on them? Therefore, after that incident, the employees in the store became even more vigilant and did not allow anyone to take the medicinal cuisine out of the store. How could Lan Jia not be surprised when he saw what was in Su Yiyan's shop? The way Lan Jia looked at Su Yiyan right now was as if he was looking at a bad student who didn't abide by the rules and secretly brought the exam papers out of the examination hall. Cheating bad student Su Yiyan. Well. Su Yiyan rolled his eyes and muttered, "Your uncle is the supreme VIP of the restaurant. Of course, he has some privileges that others don't have." Hu Chenwan suddenly remembered what Su Yiyan had said to him when he went to the medicinal cuisine restaurant for the first time. His eyes suddenly became deep. Read the latest chapter of The Male Protagonist's Uncle Obviously Loves My Joie bookstore for free. Chapter 566. Supreme VIP. Lan Jia was stunned, then his face flushed with excitement. "There's a VIP in the restaurant. What are the conditions?" I want to have one too." Lan Minghan and the rest pricked up their ears. VIP. They wanted to have one too. Conditions. Su Yiyan glanced at Hu Chenwan, a teasing smile on her lips. "You probably need some nepotism." Lan Jia. Nepotism. Was it the nepotism he was thinking of? He felt that something was amiss. Lan Minghan and his wife, who knew the truth. "We won't eat this dog food." This. Although Madame Lan didn't know the inside story, she could tell that Hu Chenwan had connections. She wanted to ask him for help, but she was too embarrassed to ask. Su Yiyan could tell what she was thinking and smiled faintly. "Xiaoran, if you still want to eat more, let Chenwan inform them. It's not good for your body to get sick of the same food. Next time, let them change to something else and see which suits Xiaoran's taste better." The Lan family's eyes lit up, but they were worried that it would bring unnecessary trouble to Hu Chenwan and Lan Jia. "Will that be too much trouble for you?" "No, before I learned these two dishes, I discussed it with the staff in the restaurant. Their restaurant only serves 200 people at a time. It's okay to add one more person for Chenhuan's sake." Su Yiyan glanced at Yan Xiaoran and lowered her eyes to hide her emotions. She didn't want to make trouble for herself, but Yan Xiaoran's health wasn't good. In the test report that Lan Jia gave her, there were some problems with a few indicators. It wasn't obvious now, but when it got bigger, Su Yiyan was worried that she would have gestational hypertension or anemia. Although she had only met them twice, Su Yiyan could tell that this family was really good. The parents were kind, the couple was happy, and the children were filial. Most importantly, he had once extended a helping hand to Hu Qinhuan and treated him as one of his own. In her previous life, she had been by Hu Qinhuan's side. She had never seen him looking for the Lan family, nor had she heard any news about the Lan family. Was it because he did not want to involve them, or had the Lan family been in the same situation as the Qing family? Because of the plot, although the elders were embarrassed to trouble Hu Qinhuan and her husband, they still felt sorry for them. After hesitating for a moment, he asked for help with a solemn expression, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Hu Qinhuan glanced at his wife who had pushed him out to take the blame. He smiled and said, "It's nothing. You're welcome." Because of this, the distance between them was shortened a lot. It reminded the elders and Hu Qinhuan of the time when his parents were still alive. The two families often gathered together like this. Unfortunately, the affairs of the world were unpredictable. Things remained the same, but people had changed. Lan Jia, on the other hand, was extremely curious about Su Yiyan. "Auntie, is Uncle Ho really related to the streamer? They kind of know each other, right? Auntie, have you seen the streamer in person? What does she look like? Is she beautiful?" Auntie, Lan Jia was like a sparrow, chirping non-stop around Su Yiyan. The corners of Su Yiyan's mouth twitched. Just as she was wondering how to deal with this crazy fan, Hu Qinhuan interrupted, "Yes, I know her. I've seen her in person. She's very beautiful." Lan Jia. Lan Minghan and his wife. They wanted to kick this dog food over. Chapter 567. Hu Qinhuan glanced at Lan Jia obnoxiously. "Is there anything else you want to ask?" Lan Jia felt a chill run down his spine, and he immediately cowered. No. He could still tease Su Yiyan, who was about the same age as him and looked kind and amiable. However, he was terrified of this person who had once stripped him of his pants, thrown him into a dog kennel, and caused him to be chased by dogs for a few rounds. He was even bitten in the butt. Forget it, he couldn't afford to offend her. When everyone saw Lan Jia's reaction, they were reminded of the funny things that had happened between the two of them, and they burst into laughter. Su Yiyan had no idea what was going on, and she looked confused. "This brat has never been afraid of anything. I'm afraid the only person he's afraid of is Qinhuan. What kind of logic is that? What did Qinhuan do to him?" "You don't know, but Qinhuan often came to our house with his parents. At that time, Jia, Mom." Lan Jia struggled desperately, hoping that his mother would be merciful and save his last bit of face in front of Su Yiyan and his sister-in-law. Unfortunately, his mother didn't receive his brainwaves at all. She said excitedly, "There are no outsiders here, so what's wrong with that?" Yen, I'll tell you, this brat loves to cause trouble. When he was 5 or 6 years old, he was even more hated by people and dogs. Only Qinhuan could control him. After that, Lan Jia's mother betrayed her son without any hesitation, and she boasted about the funny things that had happened between the two of them. Lan Jia, who had been dealt a heavy blow by his mother and was forced to be publicly executed, slumped in his chair. He spat out a mouthful of bubbles, and his face was full of despair. Why on earth did he have to be so stupid as to provoke this demon and his wife? Was he too arrogant, or was this devil too weak to lift a knife? Su Yiyan listened with great interest. When Hu Qinhuan had gone to her house last time, her mother had also told her many embarrassing things. It was only fair that she heard it now. As he listened, Su Yiyan couldn't help but sigh. "So, you're just an old man. She thought that no matter how mature this guy was now, he must have done something embarrassing that she could use to make fun of him. In the end, after listening to half of the story, it turned out to be about his heroic achievements in dealing with naughty children. Su Yiyen felt that she had reason to suspect that Mama Lan was intentionally biased towards her and was not telling her the truth. Hua Chenhuan. Why was he being old again? Feeling that he had been implicated, he narrowed his eyes dangerously and decided to personally prove whether he was old or not tonight. After the meal, the Lan family's attitude towards the two of them was finally not as reserved as before. Before she left, she even gave them a big bag full of things to take home. Su Yiyen and Su Yiyen could not refuse, so they could only accept it. Before getting into the car, Mama Lan even talked to Su Yiyen alone. Taking advantage of this, Lan Minghan moved closer to Hua Chenhuan and reminded him, "I heard from a friend that the news of your recovery has spread abroad." Hua Chenhuan's eyes flickered, but he didn't say anything. Lan Minghan didn't know if he understood what he meant, so he added tentatively, "Sister Song is also abroad." Hua Chenhuan was silent for a moment, and his eyes drifted to Su Yiyen. He smiled and said, "It's okay. It won't change anything even if she doesn't come back." Chapter 568. Lan Minghan was a little startled, and then he smiled. "I was worrying for nothing. I wish you and your aunt have a baby soon and grow old together." Hua Chenhuan glanced at him and said in a low voice, "Thank you." He didn't know if she was thanking him for his blessing or for his reminder. When they got home, Su Yiyen was still a little excited. She showed off the gift that Mrs. Lan gave her before she left to Hua Chenhuan. "Look, sister-in-law gave me a gift." Hua Chenhuan smiled and grabbed her hand. "What gift?" "I don't know. It was specially prepared for me. She asked me to see it when I got home." Hua Chenhuan raised his eyebrows, so mysterious. "Do you want to see it?" Although Su Yiyen was a little worried that there might be something ugly in it, she didn't intend to hide it from Hua Chenhuan. "I'll open it." Hua Chenhuan took the exquisite gift box from Su Yiyen. He opened it and was stunned. "What's this?" "Jade." Su Yiyen reached out and took out the thing inside. She looked puzzled. "Why is the shape of this jade a little strange? It looks like an animal." "Kirin." This is a kirin." "Kirin? What does it mean?" Hua Chenhuan looked at her deeply and chuckled. "A kirin gives a child. I guess she wants you to have a baby as soon as possible." Su Yiyen was stunned. She felt that the cold jade was inexplicably hot, and her face blushed. "What about you? What? Do you want to have a baby as soon as possible?" This was the first time that Su Yiyen asked him about this topic so seriously. Before, when they talked about this topic, most of the time, it was mostly teasing and joking. Hua Chenhuan was stunned, and then he couldn't help but reach out and touch her head. "Yes, and no." Su Yiyen blinked and looked confused. "What do you mean? Don't you like children?" "I do, but... Yen, we've been married for less than a year." "Yes." A thought flashed through Su Yiyen's mind. She raised her head and looked at him. "Are you reluctant to leave the two of us alone?" Hua Chenhuan's thoughts were exposed. Her ears turned slightly red, but her eyes didn't flinch as she stared back at him. He really couldn't bear to leave the two of them alone. Having her was his biggest dream in this life. It hadn't even been a year, and there was already another person to share his attention with. Hua Chenhuan had to admit that she was indeed a little cunning. Su Yiyen did not know whether to laugh or cry. "You're even jealous of a child. You're really..." Before Su Yiyen could finish her sentence, she was hugged by Hua Chenhuan. "Let nature take its course. If you're pregnant, give birth to it. If not, wait patiently." Hua Chenhuan paused and said hoarsely, Yen, I never thought that I would be able to have a child in this lifetime. You can think about it now. Su Yiyan hugged Hua Qinhuan's waist tightly. If you don't want to have too many children at home, we can have one. But I think two is better. It's more companionable, just like me and my brother. My brother has always doted on me and let me have my way. I'm very happy at that time. But don't worry, no matter how many children there are in the family, you'll always be number one in my heart. You're the most beautiful child in our family. Pfft. The invisible man, Si Jigu, who was driving silently in front, couldn't help but laugh. After that, he was worried that his young master would find out, so he tried hard to hold back his laughter until his face turned red, and he almost couldn't hold the steering wheel. Hua Qinhuan noticed, but did not trouble him. He just smiled helplessly and said, "Do you think you're coaxing a child?" Chapter 569. Su Yiyan chuckled and admitted it confidently. Aren't you a child? You're already an adult, yet you're still competing with a child. Su Yiyan rolled her eyes and asked, "So what if I'm coaxing you? Don't you like it when I coax you?" Hua Qinhuan's eyes darkened slightly, and she agreed without any integrity. "Yes, I like it." Hee. Sima Gu was speechless. He couldn't bear to watch. After Su Yiyan finished giggling, she suddenly seemed to think of something. She frowned and was a little worried. Hua Qinhuan immediately noticed her strange behavior and asked with concern, "What's wrong?" "After your leg recovered, I was a little worried that Hua Xiaofeng's family would come to make trouble for us. But it's been a week or two, and they haven't done anything at all. It's strange that they're so quiet. Could it be that they were scared by your sudden appearance and didn't dare to act rashly? Or were they secretly planning something and ready to cause trouble at any time? As the saying goes, one can be a thief for 1,000 days, but not a thief for 1,000 days. This family was a ticking time bomb after all." Hearing her words, Hua Qinhuan touched her head comfortingly and smiled. "Don't worry, they don't have the energy to care about us now." Ha! If Su Yiyan could think of something, Hua Qinhuan naturally couldn't think of it. As early as the night before Hua Qinhuan went to the celebration, a secret email was accurately delivered to Mrs. Hua. The content of this email was intimate photos of Hua Qihan and another woman going in and out of major venues. To put it simply, Hua Qihan had an affair. He found a woman who was one round younger than him and bought a house to hide his mistress. He started a new home outside. Hua Qinhuan didn't know how Mrs. Hua would react when she received these photos, but seeing that she attended the celebration with Hua Qihan the next day, she knew that she either didn't believe it or believed it but didn't dare to fall out with Hua Qihan. But it doesn't matter. If you don't want people to know, don't do it in the first place. Even if Mrs. Hua didn't believe him, he had ways to make her believe him. In the following week, Hua Qinhuan asked people to send Mrs. Hua a copy of Hua Qihan's intimate photos and even videos of Hua Qihan and the actress. Hua Qihan was probably very impatient with his wife and his son, Hua Xiaofeng. He spent most of the week staying at the woman's house on the pretext that he was busy with work. Mrs. Hua had always felt that his attitude towards her had been a little strange recently. Now, he was not resisting her so frequently. Coupled with those photos and videos, it was a catalyst. Just 2 days ago, Mrs. Hua finally couldn't hold back and secretly went to the Hua Corporation to follow Hua Qihan. She found Hua Qihan's house outside and confirmed the authenticity of the photos and videos. Hua Furan was still a little afraid of Hua Qihan. Moreover, it was deeply ingrained in his mind that cheating was a sin. She didn't choose to rush in and argue with Hua Qihan. Instead, she left in a trance. After confirming that Hua Qihan had gone to work the next day, she ran alone to find the mistress. Hua Qihan's mistress was called Shua Xiaoyu. She was young, beautiful, and particularly delicate. In her early 30s, she wasn't particularly young, but she had the mature temperament of a woman that young people didn't have. Mrs. Hua knocked on the door and saw her. She was so angry that her nose was crooked and she slapped her. Xue Xiaoyu didn't expect Mrs. Hua to hit her at all. She was caught off guard and her face swelled. Chapter 570. Mrs. Hua did not intend to let her go. She reached out to grab her head again. Fortunately, the nanny in the apartment heard the noise and rushed out to rescue the mistress. She temporarily stopped Mrs. Hua. Xue Xiao was also very angry after being slapped for no reason. She immediately called the security guard outside the apartment to ask for help. After that, she called Hua Qihan and cried that she had been slapped by a strange woman for no reason. Hua Qihan heard that and immediately left his work to rush over. In the end, when he arrived at the scene, he saw the face of his mistress, who had a handprint on her face. She was cowering behind the security door and crying. His first wife stood at the door and cursed loudly. She even struggled to throw herself at her lover. The two security guards in front of her could not hold her back. Hua Qihan's dark face suddenly darkened. He stepped forward to grab Hua Fureo's hand and scolded her angrily, "What are you doing here?" Mrs. Hua was stunned. When she realized what was going on, she even reached out to grab Hua Qihan. "You ask me what I'm doing here. You still have the nerve to ask me what I'm doing here. Who is that woman? You know better than me who this woman is. You're looking for her outside, and you still have the nerve to ask me why I'm here." Hua Qihan's appearance was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. It made Mrs. Hua go crazy. Hua Qihan was criticized by Mrs. Hua in front of so many people. His face became uglier and uglier, and his guilt toward Hua Fureo faded a lot. He glanced around with a dark face. Seeing that the two security guards were still there, he simply pulled Mrs. Hua into the house. The door was closed, leaving the nanny outside to deal with the security guards. Xue Xiao was also shocked when she saw Hua Qihan pull her in. She hurriedly stepped back a few steps to distance herself from the crazy woman. As soon as Mrs. Hua entered the house and saw Xue Xiao, she struggled and was about to rush over again. Hua Qihan stopped her. "Enough." Mrs. Hua was shocked by the roar. She opened her mouth and wanted to say something, but Xue Xiao's eyes were red. She cried pitifully, "Brother Han." His shout angered Mrs. Hua again. "Why are you calling me brother? He can even be your father. You rely on your youth and beauty to become a mistress. How can you be so shameless? Are you done?" Hua Qihan's expression finally eased a little because her words had darkened again. Xue Xiao took good care of herself. She not only had a young appearance but also a mature woman. Therefore, within a few months, he fell in love with her tenderness and couldn't get up. It was true that he liked young women, but that didn't mean that he liked people mocking him based on his age or appearance. At this moment, Hua Qihan's disgust for Hua Fulao almost reached its peak, and the last bit of guilt in his heart disappeared. Mrs. Hua was pushed by him and staggered. When she finally stood firm, she couldn't help but want to scream. "Are you done? I'm your wife, your nominal other half. Now you're yelling at me for this woman outside." Xue Xiao hid behind Hua Qihan and looked frightened by Hua Fulao's loud voice. "Brother Han, it's okay." Hua Qihan's heart suddenly softened, and his attitude toward Hua Fulao became more impatient. "Do you know what you look like now? You're yelling outside and yelling inside. You're a shrew." Chapter 571. The word shrew irritated Mrs. Hua. "Do you think I'm a shrew now? Why didn't you think I was a shrew when you married me?" "That's because I was blind. I didn't see you clearly." Hua Qihan's suppressed dissatisfaction during this period of time gushed out because of Mrs. Hua's question. "I used to think that you were gentle and magnanimous, Even if you couldn't help me with my business, at least you could let me have no worries about my family. And the result? You're as stupid as a pig. You only know how to yell when you're in trouble. You have no manners at all. No wonder you raised such a good-for-nothing son. He's a disgrace to me. Mrs. Huo was already angry. She didn't expect Hu Qihan to mention their son at this time, and in such a tone. This reminded her of the day when Hu Xiaofeng was injured and hospitalized. Hu Qihan was also indifferent. He didn't stay to take a good look at his son before he left. Could it be that at that time, he was already thinking of this? Hu Fu's anger rushed to his head again. Son. Xiaofeng is my son. Isn't he your son? You despise him now. Who was the one who flaunted him around like a treasure in the early years? Half of Xiaofeng's genes are yours. He's a good-for-nothing. Isn't it because he has a useless father? You what? Any man couldn't stand a woman calling herself a good-for-nothing, especially a male chauvinist like Hu Qihan. He was also angry at the moment. He pointed at Mrs. Hua and scolded, "Don't forget who raised you all these years. You, a parasite raised by me for more than 20 years, have the nerve to call me a good-for-nothing. You're worse than a good-for-nothing. Hu Qihan, you bastard." Hu Qihan didn't want to talk to her anymore. He pointed at the door and shouted, "I've had enough. You're an unreasonable shrew. Get out of here now. I'll ask my secretary to send you the divorce certificate. Sign it immediately. We'll divorce." Divorce. Shui Xiaofeng, who was hiding behind Hu Qihan, heard this and her eyes lit up. She couldn't help but smile. Divorce? Mrs. Hua's vision went dark when she heard those two words. She couldn't help but tremble. This man wanted to divorce her. They had been husband and wife for more than 20 years. In the end, she was scolded as a shrew. Her son was incompetent. This man wanted to divorce her for a woman outside. Why? Hafro's face twisted for a moment. Especially when he saw the smile on Shui Xiao's face, he lost his last bit of rationality. You want to divorce me? Let me tell you, no. Back then, you were the one who begged me to marry you. Now that you have another woman, you want to kick me aside. Let me tell you, it's easier to invite the devil SSS divorce Mises and tease a woman tit as he's a s. T TSS. SMS haves TS have T-Hua TT S SSSSSSSSS to S Hua 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 S was. Hu Qihan reacted quickly. He grabbed Hu Fu's and pushed him away. Mrs. Hua staggered. When she was about to step forward, she heard Shui Xiaofeng's loud cry, "Child, Brother Han, child, my stomach hurts." Chapter 572. Mrs. Huo was shocked and looked at the woman sitting on the ground in disbelief. She just had a child. Whose child was it? This woman was pregnant with her husband's child. Mrs. Huo missed the opportunity because she was too shocked. When Hu Qihan heard that something had happened to his child at an old age, he did not bother to argue with Mrs. Huo. He picked up Shui Xiao and ran out. When he passed by Mrs. Huo opened her mouth to speak, but Hu Qihan knocked her away. Her stomach hit the cabinet at the side, and her face turned pale with pain. All the things that happened in the family Huo were reported by the informants that Hu Chenhuan had placed around the family Huo. Su Yiyan was a little confused when she learned about it. Hu Qihan cheated and had a child with another woman. Mrs. Huo almost aborted the child when she went to catch them in the act. Now Hu Qihan wants to divorce her. It's really a big show. Hu Chenhuan looked at his wife's expression that said, "What a pity that I wasn't there." She couldn't help laughing. What happened later? Did the child in your wife's belly survive? Almost. Of course, it survived. But I suspect. What? That woman must have deliberately fallen. Deliberately fell. Su Yiyan was stunned for a moment and soon understood Hua Qinhuan's meaning. You mean that the woman deliberately faked the fall to frame Mrs. Hua, so as to provoke the conflict between Hua Qihan and his wife? It's possible. That's too cruel. What if it's really gone? Hua Qinhuan's eyes were cold and she sneered. This child is her hope of entering the family Hua. She won't be so careless. Even if it's really gone, who do you think Hua Qihan will hate? Of course, it's Mrs. Hua. Su Yiyan couldn't help but feel a little cold. In order to win Hua Qihan's affection, in order to enter the family Hua, she would even use her own flesh and blood. Rao's bottom line was always lower than you could imagine. Every time you felt that what you had seen and heard was shocking enough, there would always be someone or something that would further refresh your understanding of human nature. No wonder they didn't have time to find trouble with us. Their family is probably in a state of chaos right now, right? I really want to see it with my own eyes. It must be very exciting. Su Yiyan seemed to have thought of something and sneered, but if we really want to think about it, a crooked stick will have a crooked shadow. Hua Xiaofeng is like this, and his father is also like this. Now that his father divorced his mother for the sake of those three, he, the former young master of the family Hua, will probably be kicked out of the house along with his mother. I wonder how he feels right now. Thinking of the chaotic situation the family Hua was in, Su Yiyan couldn't help but chuckle. It was really satisfying. He's really not doing well now. Su Yiyan snorted coldly and said sarcastically, his father cheated on his mother, divorced his mother, kicked them out of the house, and even gave birth to a younger brother for him. How can he be doing well? It's not just because of this. Su Yiyan was stunned, and then her eyes lit up. Is there anything else? What else is there? Hurry up. Hua Qinhuan's lips curled slightly, and her eyes were full of gloating. He encountered the same thing as his mother. The same thing as his mother. Didn't his mother just... Su Yiyan's words suddenly got stuck in her throat, and her eyes widened in disbelief. You mean, Hua Xiaofeng was cheated on? Chapter 573. Hua Qinhuan met Su Yiyan's excited eyes and couldn't help but pat her head. Yes, he's been cheated on. Su Yiyan was still very shocked. The world's female lead had cheated on the world's male lead. Although the female lead in the original novel was a flirtatious butterfly who flirted with the supporting male leads everywhere and had a lot of spare tires, she didn't really cheat on the male lead. Now that Hua Qinhuan had said so, it was highly likely that the woman had already made the green man a reality. What's going on? Who did Wen Jingping hook up with this time? Does Hua Xiaofeng know about this? Hua Qinhuan didn't directly answer Su Yiyan's first few questions. Instead, he chose to answer the last one. I don't know yet. After today, I'll know. Su Yiyan glanced at him in surprise, her face full of doubt. As if to prove Hua Qinhuan's words, Hua Xiaofeng finally removed the cast on his hand in the afternoon. Looking at his fingers, which were much less sensitive than before, his face was so gloomy that it could drip water. At this time, his mother ran in crying from outside. There was a bright red handprint on her face. Although Hua Xiaofeng was a scumbag and self-righteous, he still cared a lot about his mother who had always doted on him. Seeing this, Hua Xiaofeng's face suddenly changed. He hurried to Mrs. Hua and said angrily, Mom, what's wrong with you? Who hit you? Mrs. Hua had completely lost her backbone. She hugged her son and burst into tears. Hua Xiaofeng didn't know what had happened. He hugged her and comforted her for a while. Mrs. Hua finally calmed down a little. She looked at her son and wanted to say something, but stopped. Hu Xiaofeng had already lost his patience. He said anxiously, "What's going on? Who hit you? Hurry up. I'm here. I'll help you vent your anger." Mrs. Huo heard him and became even sadder. Fortunately, she still had a son. She still had hope. Otherwise, it's your father. My dad. Hu Xiaofeng was shocked. Why would my dad hit you? Hu Xiaofeng seemed to have hit a switch, causing Hafureo's face to twist. That's right, why would he hit me? Of course it's because he already has another woman outside and doesn't want to live a peaceful life with me anymore. Another woman. This sentence was like a blow to Hu Xiaofeng's head, hammering him into a daze. Mom, did you misunderstand Dad? How could he? What misunderstanding? I saw it with my own eyes. He bought a house outside to live with that woman. He didn't go home recently because he was accompanying the B*TCH. That woman is already pregnant with his child. It's been more than a month. They must have hooked up a long time ago. What kind of misunderstanding could there be? Mrs. Hua's eyes were red. She couldn't help but grit her teeth at the thought of that woman. She had thought that Hu Qihan's affair was enough to drive her crazy. Who would have thought that not only did he have another woman, but he also had a child with that woman? Thinking of how Hu Qihan had pointed at her nose and scolded her for giving birth to a useless son, Mrs. Hua understood that Hu Qihan was ready to give up on her and her son and help that mistress and her son rise to the top. Hu Xiaofeng was also stunned. For more than 20 years, he had been the only son and had always been told that he was the only heir of the Huo Corporation. The Huo Corporation would definitely be his in the future. But now, his father had found another woman outside and had another child. Then he... Chapter 574. Hu Xiaofeng's face was as pale as paper. He grabbed Hafureo's hand and asked, "Mom, how could this happen? Hasn't Dad always had a good relationship with you? Why did he suddenly?" Hu Xiaofeng was fine, but Hafureo couldn't stop her tears from flowing down. Was her relationship with Hu Qihan good? Perhaps. At least in the eyes of outsiders, they had a happy family, harmonious couple, and a son who was excellent in all aspects. But in fact, Hu Xiaofeng's character had become like this, and Hu Qihan had an unshirkable responsibility. Because he was not capable, he hated others for being incompetent. After becoming the head of the Huo group, he had lost self-awareness because of the flattery around him. He used to feel inferior, but now he was arrogant. Hu Qihan still had the nerve to say that she had given birth to a useless son for him. She saw that this useless gene came from him. Over the years, she had been able to endure this man's self-righteous chauvinism. On the one hand, it was because she had feelings for him, and he was well-behaved and never stepped on her bottom line. On the other hand, it was because his family background could bring her and her child a good life. She was reluctant and did not dare to give up such a life. But now, Hu Xiaofeng saw that she was crying and did not speak. He frowned slightly and thought carefully. Soon, he found a reasonable reason for Hu Qihan's infidelity. It must be that woman who deliberately seduced him. That woman must know who Dad is and that he has a lot of money, so she deliberately seduced him. If that was the case, that woman now had a child, which was a great threat to him. He had been driven out of the Huo group. If this woman gave birth to a son, would his father hand over the Huo group to him in the future? No, it was impossible. The Huo group was his and could only be his. He could not let this nameless illegitimate son take away what belonged to him. What happened to Dad? He and that woman. What else? He wanted to divorce me, and slapped me. Shui Xiao had been complaining about a stomachache after she fell, but in fact, it was nothing serious. Knowing that his son was fine, Hu Qihan was relieved and finally in the mood to trouble Hu Fureo. He had slapped Mrs. Hu across the face the moment they met, completely destroying the last bit of extravagant hope that they had for each other. Divorce. Hu Xiaofeng exclaimed. You can't divorce her. You can't divorce her. Mrs. Hu was startled by his sudden raised voice. She stared at him blankly, not knowing what to do. Hu Xiaofeng choked. When he came back to his senses, he held Hu Fuluo's hand tightly and said earnestly, Mom, you can't divorce Dad. He has another woman and another child now. Once you divorce him, he will definitely drive us out. Do you really want that woman to live in our house, use our things, and enjoy the life that originally belonged to us? Mrs. Hu pursed her lips, her eyes filled with resentment. Seeing her like this, Hu Xiaofeng continued to fan the flames. Mom, you are the rightful Mrs. Hu of the family Hu, and I am the rightful young master of the family Hu. As long as you don't divorce, you will always be the mistress of the family Hu. Who does that woman think she is? Even if she can give birth to the child, it will be an illegitimate son who can't be seen in public. But if you divorce her, we will really have nothing. It is almost like giving up everything that should belong to us to that B*TCH and her son. Are you willing to accept this? Chapter 575. Hu Fuke was indignant. Just like Hu Xiaofeng, when she first married into the family Hu was already a giant. Hu Qihan's parents were not very satisfied with her. In order to marry Hu Qihan, she took the initiative to ask for a prenuptial agreement. She only married Hu Qihan after dividing the prenuptial assets. After that, Hu Qihan had never thought of giving her anything like a house or shares. This was also the reason why Mrs. Hu had a subtle expression when Su Yiyan showed off in front of them that Hu Qinhuan had transferred 10% of the Hu Corporation's shares to her. If she divorced Hu Qihan now, she would get nothing and would be kicked out of the family. Yes, I can't get a divorce. As long as I don't get a divorce, I'm still Mrs. Hu. No one can kick me out. So what if that woman is pregnant? Her child was also born as an illegitimate child with no title or status. Mom, you're right to think that way. Even if it's not for me, you must not get a divorce for your own sake. But your father, what's wrong with my father? He's in the wrong for having an affair. How can he force you to get a divorce? Hu Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with ruthlessness and resentment. It's fine if you want a divorce, but let him hand over all of his assets. Otherwise, let that woman and her son be illegitimate children forever. Mrs. Hu only had Hu Xiaofeng as her backbone now. Naturally, she would do whatever he said and agreed without much struggle. Hu Xiaofeng glanced at the wound on her face and said with heartache, Mom, you should go and treat the wound on your face first. Mrs. Hu touched half of her swollen face. Her eyes reddened again. She nodded and turned to leave. After she left, Hu Xiaofeng's expression changed completely. He kicked the table beside him angrily. He had nowhere to vent his anger. Coincidentally, the things that Hu Qinhuan had sent to him arrived at the same time. Young master, there's an email for you. Mail? Hu Xiaofeng frowned. He couldn't remember who would send him a mail at this time. Hu Xiaofeng took the mail and pinched it. It was quite thick, and there was a bulge at the bottom that looked like a round watch. Just as he tore it open, the things inside slid out, and a bunch of photos fell to the ground. Hu Xiaofeng was stunned. He squatted down and wanted to pick up the photo, but when he saw the content of the photo, his pupils shrank. There were two main characters in the photo. One of them was a man he didn't know, and the other was his girlfriend, Wen Jingping, who had disappeared after the hotel incident and hadn't come to see him until now. Hu Xiaofeng was stunned for a moment but quickly reacted and looked at the other photos. The same two people, the same intimate actions, but with different backgrounds. At the entrance of the company, the square, the clothing store, the jewelry store, and even on the side of the road, a man and a woman were intimately holding hands or whispering in each other's ears. Just from this photo, one could see the ambiguity and sweetness between the two. Hu Xiaofeng, who had a green grassland on his head, was so angry that smoke was about to come out of his head. He threw the photo in his hand to the ground, and it hit the mini projector that had been sent with the photo. With a click, the projector was turned on, and a high-definition video was projected. In the video, the two people were whispering. The woman seemed to have heard something exciting, and she giggled. Then, the two people kissed sweetly, and it was hard to part. They were like a pair of jade. Chapter 576. This scene was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, crushing Hu Xiaofeng's last shred of rationality. He struggled to stand up and kicked the miniature projector away. The projector smashed into the wall and broke into pieces, just like Hu Xiaofeng's last bit of luck with Wen Jingping. B*TCH, B*TCH, B*TCH. Hu Xiaofeng was so angry that he smashed everything in the room. How dare you betray me, how dare you betray me? Hu Xiaofeng felt as if the whole world was against him after suffering two critical blows in one go. Congratulations to the host for snatching the female protagonist's Goldfinger. Progress +5. Current progress is 50%. The progress bar for snatching the female protagonist's Goldfinger is more than half. The progress bar for snatching the male protagonist's Goldfinger has been activated simultaneously. It is known that the host's partner is the family Hua's heir, Hua Chenhuan. The world's male protagonist has officially been replaced by the young master of the Dou Enterprise, Dou Yi. The progress bar for snatching the male protagonist's Goldfinger has been activated. 3, 2, 1. The progress bar for snatching the male protagonist's Goldfinger has been activated. The progress bar is now 0. At the same time, the progress bar for snatching the female protagonist's Goldfinger has been reset to 0. Please work hard with your partner to snatch the male and female protagonist's Goldfinger as soon as possible and change your fate. Su Yiyan was shocked by the mechanical voice that suddenly popped up in her head. She was still in a daze when she heard the rest of the content. Her eyes widened in shock. What? What's going on? Isn't the world's male protagonist Hu Xiaofeng? What's up with this young master of the Dou Enterprise? And why is my progress bar at 0 after the progress bar for snatching the male protagonist's Goldfinger has been activated? Please calm down. The original world's male protagonist is indeed Hu Xiaofeng, but the world wishes for the female protagonist to take the lead. A minute ago, the system detected that the relationship between the female protagonist and the original male protagonist has been completely broken. The female protagonist's Goldfinger has been affected as a result. At the same time, the female protagonist has chosen the second male protagonist. Su Yiyan was stunned. You mean that the appearance of the so-called male protagonist depends on the choice of the female protagonist? Yes. Su Yiyan did not know whether to laugh or be angry. You should have told me this earlier. The system was silent for a while before it spoke again. The hidden plot and hints can only be obtained by upgrading the system. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. She could tell that the answer was somewhat vague. Will you only tell me after I level up, or will you only know after I level up? These two situations sounded similar, but in reality, they were very different. When Su Yiyan said this, the system fell silent again. Su Yiyan had no choice but to probe for more information. The latter. Yes. In other words, there were some hidden plots and hints that even the system did not know about beforehand. They could only be unlocked after leveling up. Does Hu Xiaofeng being kicked out of the male lead have anything to do with him being kicked out of the Hu family? According to the world's fate, the male lead of this world must have a certain family background to better assist the female lead to reach the peak. Su Yiyan understood. Hu Xiaofeng was chosen as the male lead because he was the only heir of the family Hu group. He was the rightful eldest young master of the Hu family and would definitely inherit the Hu family in the future. However, because of her and Hu Qinhuan, these two outliers, who had been suppressing him, he was kicked out of the Hu family. At the same time, Hu Qinhuan's recovery and his father's adultery meant that he was no longer the only heir of the family. He might even lose his status as the eldest young master of the family Hu. Chapter 577. His previous advantage had disappeared, and now he couldn't even protect himself, let alone rely on his status to protect the female lead and help her climb to the top. Naturally, he was abandoned. So, Hu Xiaofeng was abandoned. This Do-yi overtook him and became the new male lead. Su Yiyan frowned so hard that she could almost squeeze a mosquito to death. When Jinping's golden finger is too big, isn't it? If the male lead can be changed at will, then what if Qinhuan worked so hard to suppress Do-yi until he's almost the same as Hu Xiaofeng now, and she changes the male lead, then all our previous efforts will be in vain. In game terms, this Wen Jinping also had her own resurrection armor. They were NPCs with only one life. How could they compete with this kind of child of life? Even if they were prepared and didn't lose their vitality, from time to time this kind of thing was enough to make them feel disgusted. The host can rest assured about this, the female lead only has one chance to change the male lead. Hearing this, Su Yiyan didn't relax, but dangerously narrowed her eyes. You seem to understand Wen Jinping's situation very well. The system understands the rules of the world, and helps the host to challenge the rules of the world. This wasn't wrong. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you can win 100 battles. But Su Yiyan always felt that this so-called rule made her feel that this world's Tao was like a chess piece behind the scenes. The world they were in was just a chessboard under the opponent's hands, whether it was her or Wen Jinping, they were all just chess pieces of the opponent. This knowledge made Su Yiyan feel uncomfortable, but there was nothing she could do about it. Then why did my progress bar reset to 0? Does this mean that all my previous efforts were in vain? The host's progress bar reset to 0 because the male lead's golden finger has been activated. Hu Qinhuan was originally the cannon fodder in the book. After being cured by the host, he has the qualifications to become the world's male lead. After activating the male lead's progress bar, the host's progress bar will be closely related to the partnership's progress bar, achieving the same fate effect. Su Yiyan. It sounded quite complicated. To sum it up, it seemed like she had changed from solo NG to a two-player party. For a moment, Su Yiyan did not know whether to rejoice or have a headache. The system also seemed to feel that it was not very kind to suddenly throw such a big question at Su Yiyan. After a moment of silence, the mechanical voice suddenly sounded again. In view of the fact that the host has completed the mission of snatching the gold finger very well and has hardly had any direct conflicts with the male and female protagonists. For this reason, the host is specially rewarded with a piece of special information. Special information. How special is it? The system was speechless. I can't answer this question. Su Yiyan also felt that his question was a little silly after he asked it. He couldn't help but laugh. Forget it. I don't care how special this information is. Just hurry up. I'd like to see how many more things you're hiding from me. The system, the female lead is not a local. Non-local. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. You mean she's not a local? The system was speechless. Su Yiyan's intuition told him that it couldn't be that simple. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he suddenly realized the other meaning of the system's words. Non-local means she's a transmigrator? The system was silent for a long time. Su Yiyan originally thought that it would not answer, but unexpectedly, it responded in the end. Yes. Su Yiyan. This development was a little exciting. Chapter 578. When Jinping is a transmigrator? When did this happen? Did she transmigrate in the original novel, or did she change because I was reborn? Butterfly effect. As far as I know, when Jinping transmigrated before meeting the original male lead, Hu Xiaofeng, she has nothing to do with the host. In other words, she had already transmigrated before the plot of the original novel began. Whether it was the original novel or the previous life, when Jinping was a transmigrator. Thinking of this, Su Yiyan could not help but feel her scalp go numb. Where did she transmigrate from? According to investigation, when Jinping came from the early period of the ancient Earth explosion. Ancient Earth? Su Yiyan was stunned. Her first reaction was when Jinping's cooking. So, her family does not have any ancestral recipes at all. The dishes in her live streaming room were all brought over by her transmigrating. Yes, it's only because of the enhancement of her golden finger that the dishes she makes have a certain soothing and healing effect. Unfortunately, this golden finger completely lost its effect after meeting Su Yiyan. In addition, she had been banned by the platform for courting disaster. Her golden finger was completely useless before it could be used. Other than this, does she have any other special golden fingers? This requires the host to explore on her own. Su Yiyan was speechless. What's the use of having you? Su Yiyan's mood was like a roller coaster. It went up and down a few times. If not for her good heart, she might have had a heart attack. When Hu Qinhuan returned, he saw her bitter and resentful expression and thought that someone had made her angry again. What's wrong? Who made you unhappy again? Knowing. Su Yiyan hugged Hu Qinhuan's waist and hid in his arms for comfort. She pouted and said, "Is the man who cuckolded Hu Xiaofeng called Do Yi?" You know. I just found out. What's his background? Hu Qinhuan patted Su Yiyan's head and explained in a low voice, the Dou family is considered an old aristocratic family. They specialize in the entertainment industry and high-end restaurants. Entertainment industry and high-end restaurants? These two industries could really become her nemesis at any time. The Dou family's Hai-Yi is an old entertainment company. It's much bigger than Dongqing. Hai-Yi. Su Yiyan was stunned. She finally remembered where she heard of this name. This Do Yi was a supervillain in the latter half of the original novel. He was the heir of the old Dou family. Most importantly, he had no bottom line when it came to doing things. In his eyes, there were only two kinds of people. One was useful, and the other was useless. Once he set his eyes on something, he would obtain it no matter what price he had to pay, even if he had to resort to underhanded means. In the original novel, when Jinping and he met, it was already the latter half of the plot. At that time, the two had already experienced a lot of things. Hu Xiaofeng's mind was also relatively mature. He was not like the current him who only knew how to act recklessly and self-righteously. In addition, at that time, the male and female lead halo had already helped them swallow up the assets of several backup male supporting characters. Hu Xiaofeng had more cards in his hands than Do Yi. Do Yi had a conflict with the two at that time because he happened to see Wen Jinping in a drama that his family had invested in. At that time, Wen Jinping had gradually gained some fame. The main point was that she had not been repeatedly slapped in the face. She had a good reputation. Chapter 579. At that time, Do Yi had the idea of signing Wen Jinping to his company, but he didn't treat Wen Jinping differently. What really made him obsessed with Wen Jinping was that the series of events that followed made him accidentally find out that Wen Jinping's cooking could actually alleviate his illness. In the original novel, Do-yi suffered from a rare blood disease. This blood disease doomed him to not live long. Every time he had an attack, his whole body felt like thousands of needles and thousands of ants were biting him. It was very painful. When Jinping's uniqueness made him suddenly fall in love with this woman. He used all kinds of means to keep her by his side. At that time, when Jinping had a stable relationship with Hu Xiaofeng, her career was stable. Of course, she didn't want to be the forbidden woman of such a lunatic. She refused him without thinking and told him that she already had a man she liked. When ordinary people heard this answer, they either gave up or pestered her. Do-yi's idea was more straightforward and cruel. What he thought was, since you have someone you like, as long as this person dies, you won't have anyone you like. At that time, when Jinping filmed several dramas, she had a good relationship with Luo Weibing. Hu Xiaofeng was unhappy. He knew that there was such a person pestering Wen Jinping. When Jinping mentioned him, she didn't mention his name. He deliberately led Do-yi to mistakenly think that the person Wen Jinping liked was Luo Weibing. As a result, Luo Weibing blocked most of the attacks for him, and he had been hiding behind, reaping the benefits of the fisherman. Luo Weibing finally fell to such a miserable end. A large part of the reason was because of Do-yi's accidental injury. Do-yi met Wen Jinping at this time and became her boyfriend so quickly. Most likely, it was because he had discovered Wen Jinping's uniqueness and knew that she could help him relieve his illness. It was actually very easy to make such a person give up Wen Jinping. She just needed to let him know that Wen Jinping was not the only person who could alleviate his illness, and that this person was more useful to him than Wen Jinping. But Su Yiyan didn't want to use this method. The reason why she was willing to save Ning Qiruei and Luo Weibing's sister and let them completely leave the plot was that these two spare tires in the original novel were not bad in nature. If they hadn't met Wen Jinping, they could have had a smooth and carefree life. They wouldn't have inexplicably broken up and killed their families. It didn't matter if they were unlucky, but they also implicated their families. Do-yi is different, he is cruel by nature, and his mind is twisted. Helping him was tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. In the end, not only would he not get a word of thanks from him, he might even get himself into trouble. Not to mention that he was now tied to the same boat as Wen Jinping. He was destined to bear the burden of death with them. This person is more dangerous. If it's not necessary, it's best not to contact him alone, and don't have a conflict with him. It seemed that Hu Qinhuan had a general understanding of what kind of person this person was when she investigated him. Su Yiyan pursed her lips and looked worried. I'm afraid it's a bit difficult. Wen Jinping has suffered losses in the hands of Dongqing and me several times in a row. Now she is with this man, I'm afraid she will come to trouble me. Hu Qinhuan's eyes were slightly cold and comforted her. Don't worry, if they really dare to trouble you, I will help you clean them up. Su Yiyan couldn't help laughing. Well, then I and my broken company will depend on you. Don't let them bring down my company. If my company collapses, someone will support me, but no one will support my employees. Chapter 580. Hu Qinhuan scratched her nose and teased, now that you're saying this, I'm a little tempted. Why don't you let it close down? I'll support you. TSK. Su Yiyan rolled her eyes at him. You're such a wastrel. Aren't you using our family's money to support me? This company is also our family's. Don't you know how much money you'll lose by flirting with me? Hu Qinhuan was amused by his wife's money-grubbing behavior. He apologized softly, it's my fault. I'll protect my wife's coffers. I promise it'll only be more, not less. That's more like it. As it turned out, Su Yiyan's worries were not unfounded. A week before she was to go to the Qing family with Hu Qinhuan, the new male lead started to cause trouble for her company. What? You don't want to direct anymore? Wait, didn't we have a good discussion before? Why did you change your mind all of a sudden? Are you dissatisfied with the conditions I mentioned before? We can talk about all of that. Su Yiyen had just entered the company when she heard the head of the planning department talking to someone on the phone. It sounded like he was in a hurry. Me. In the end, it seemed like the discussion had broken down. The head of the planning department looked terrible. Su Yiyen's intuition told her that there was a problem. She thought for a moment and asked, "What happened?" "Director Su." The head of the planning department was shocked and said awkwardly, "It's me, who was originally going to be the executive director of Red Brave. He suddenly called and said that he can't take on the role. He wants us to find someone else." "Me?" Su Yiyen furrowed her brows. She wasn't familiar with directors in the industry. Previously, she had only heard that Xia Junqing's Red Brave had a special theme and a grand background. The average director wouldn't be able to handle it. It would be best to find a more professional director. In the end, they chose an old director with experience in filming related themes. Previously, Xia Junqing had personally invited him. The negotiation went very smoothly, and there were basically no mistakes. They didn't expect that after a few days, this person would stand them up. "Did you ask for the reason?" "It's because the filming time is too long and the intensity is too high. The elderly's body can't take it." Su Yiyen's intuition told her that it wasn't that simple. "Alright, I've got the gist of it. You guys can continue with your work." The planning department head was originally worried that Su Yiyen would blame them for this matter, but after hearing her words, he couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief. He hurriedly expressed his loyalty before sending her away. Su Yiyen went back to his office and thought about it. He still felt that there was something wrong with this matter. She had heard of this man from Xia Junqing before. He was only in his early 50s this year and should still be in good health. Moreover, Xia Junqing had personally gone to discuss the collaboration with him. It was impossible that he did not know the estimated shooting time of the script beforehand. This old man had agreed to it back then. Now that he suddenly changed his mind, there must be some other reason. Su Yiyen's intuition had saved her several times, so much so that every time she felt that something was wrong, she would have to investigate thoroughly before she could feel at ease. This time was no exception. Xia Junqing was the one who found this person. Now that there was a problem, it was naturally Xia Junqing's responsibility to investigate. Xia Junqing was also very surprised when he found out that this man had turned down the director's offer. He immediately went to find someone in the know to understand the situation. He was also very fast. The next morning, he told Su Yiyen what he had found out. "You're saying that the reason he turned down this film is because he accepted another film of a similar genre. The main investor of this film is still Hai. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.